30 years, countless brands, and more than a few hard lessons. Today's guest has seen what truly separates winners from everyone else. Joe is a seasoned entrepreneur, former professor, and founder of Brands Fifth Avenue. He's also the author of Practical MBA on Economics and the Guerrilla Guide for Entrepreneurs and the rest of us. Joe brings a rare mix of street-level experience and strategic insight, breaking down big ideas like AI, economic disruption, into practical moves that you can actually use. And he does it all with clarity and humor. Joe, welcome to the show. Joe, welcome to the show. Can you start by telling us a little bit about you and your experience as a seasoned entrepreneur, a former professor, and the founder of Brands Fifth Avenue?
Thank you, first of all, Beck, for having me on your show. How did my life start out? Well, my first skill is I'm a tool maker. I learned that from my dad, right?
Very cool.
Because he had a tooling company, a small one. I originally went to school to study a little bit of math and engineering, so I took industrial engineering. Very interesting. I dropped out, but in between then I learned how to program some industrial robots, and this is going back about 350 years ago, but I kind of still remember a little bit about it. And I was in my mid to late 20s, and I stumbled across the health and beauty care industry. That's where I learned how to create brands. I've worked, eventually when I got a little bit older, I did my MBA. My dad didn't have to do that because he was smart, but I had to do that, right? So I had to go to school. Anyways, but in all seriousness, I taught corporate finance and statistics in college as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've done most of my life. I've written a book in 2022 called the Practical MBA on Economics, what they do and don't teach you in business school. And the new one that I brought out is called the Guerrilla Guide for Entrepreneurs and the Rest of Us. And it gives you hardcore, it's a 500-page book of just skills from brand design to strategies for competitive advantage. I integrated the streets with an MBA, a little bit of that, some experience. It's not a book about this is how I did it, you've got to do it my way, or, take the highway. I leave it all up to you. So, there's many paths to follow. And so that's my bio.
It sounds great. So can you tell us a little bit about how you founded your company, Brands Fifth Avenue, and what that process looked like? When did that fall into play in your career?
Well, I licensed it out for a while, but what I did is I had a lot of mentors, which I'm not going to go into a long speech about, but I learned brand design. I learned brand design for someone who was very much in that field from Revlon, if you will, and some other colleagues. So I understood proportion, size, textuality, so on and so forth. A lot of good zinger lines, if you will. So how I stumbled upon that is a few corporations who were in the health and beauty care industry. I did all their clearances. That's where I really started learning about health and beauty care brands, primarily shampoos, right? I did cosmetics for a while. In Canada, I introduced the first discount line of cosmetics for women of color. So I did that. And so one thing led to another, and I've created these brands over the last 20, 25 years that at one point I had them in almost 4 corners of the world, from Latin America to overseas to Vietnam to even Taiwan.
Wow.
In 4 or 5 different languages. And so that's where I am there. Our brands are they're not Hollywood brands. They're basically, they save the consumer money and they increase their sense of self. And that's what we do. Because when you're buying anything, when you're doing anything, may it be on your iPod or may it be on your iPhone, you're buying feelings.
Right.
What makes you feel.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's how I got into it. Yeah.
Awesome. I have a quick question about that. So you're actually the first one to come on this podcast that's talked about the cosmetics industry and marketing it. So it's a bonus question. So if you don't want to answer it, it's up to you. Is there anything that would surprise us about the cosmetics industry, and operating and marketing in that as a whole?
That's a really good question. I'm thinking. My mind's going off here. It's a good question. No, it's okay. The key word is affection. I'm going to give you example. I used to be the licensed person for the Barbasol brand. That's a shave cream brand. Guys will talk about shave. It's a ritual for a guy, right? That's how I watch my father shave. I'm going to go on to ladies' products in a moment. I'm there. Watching your father shave when you're a little boy, even if you're a girl and you've seen your dad shave, it's really a propagation of generations, if you will. So I handled that Barbasol brand for about 5 years in Canada. I learned a lot about shaving. I learned a lot about, if you look out today, if they have shaving blades, Those original designs are mine. They use them all over America now.
Wow, that's awesome.
The whole idea was mine.
Wow.
It's a long story, but a part of that crybaby story I have for you, if you got a towel for me, is in my book. So that's where I learned that. One of my mentors was the international president for Gillette. That's where I learned about razor blades. So, you might have a bad bottle of shampoo. You might not drop the brand, but if you are shaving and you're a gentleman and it cuts your face and you're going to get on Beck's show, you're going to be pretty pissed at that razor blade.
Right.
So I learned about, the textures of steel and metallurgy and so on and so forth. I've been in a lot of factories. I'm not a whiz at it, but if I walk into a manufacturing factory, I know how things should work. And if they're not working right, I can bring in someone who can, technically fix it. So on ladies' products, what surprised me the most? Well, first of all, on the shave, the level of affection. I used to get a lot of letters. The level of affection men have towards shave creams are incredible. And up until EV cars, guys just open the hood. Most of us can't understand engines anymore. And guys talk about computers. Mm-hmm. They can talk about maybe their shaving experience and certainly their ride, right? After that, they don't hang around the retail shelf and, start, trying on 45 different levels of clothes and so on and so forth. For women, I found once you can hook them onto a brand, they will swear by it. Okay. Once you hook them, they're really, really good. It's how it makes them feel. I see that in my health and beauty care brands. I don't get many engagements from consumers like I used to. So that means they're happy and we're getting repetitive sales. So that's what surprised me. And I'm just kind of going organic with this conversation. There's a lot of people who go, well, when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to, take this job and shove it and I'm going to, take over the world and, move over Elon Musk, move over, Mary Kay Cosmetics. She's in my book too. I don't know if you know much about Mary Kay.
Yes. Very familiar with the brand.
She called her salespeople her daughters, right? And back then, if you were at the top echelon of sales, you got a pink Cadillac, you know?
Yeah, and then they had the parties too. I remember those.
Yeah. They had a lot of fun. But I find, so what really surprised women in shopping for health and beauty care brands is that feel of packaging. You've really got to have that package, right?
Yeah.
And what frustrates, it's actually very manipulative. You've got some real high-end $17, $20, $24 health and beauty care, shampoo, conditioner, hairspray brands. And what surprised me is if you play the price game, it's a very delicate game. And if you drop the price too far, too quickly, they'll go, it's cheap.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I try and sell Apple iPhones for the price of a Howie. All right, that's what I think I try to do anyways, with some days with mixed success. So I kind of went off tangent. Did I answer your question? I hope I did.
You did. Yes, you did. And it's
Okay.
it's really interesting that you brought that up. You brought up a lot of great points, like really understanding your product and what your consumer is looking for in the product. You mentioned going into the factory and actually seeing the experience for yourself. And I think that's so important as marketers to know the ins and outs of the product, but also what your audience is looking for. It's interesting for different target audiences, right? Like you said, for men, it's more of a ritual. For women, in shampoo and conditioner. If you had success with a brand and it's working well, you get attached to that brand. You're going to stick with it. It's the play on price was also a really interesting point that you brought up too. Something we recently talked about on this podcast was that middle ground. You could price a product higher and get more of a premium product. You move less units, but then it positions itself more as a premium product where it is more so something that would evoke an emotion really strongly. And then if you price things on the less expensive scale, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You might appeal to more people, but you're appealing to them more maybe for the practicality piece. For women in cosmetics, which is what I was really interested in, was to see, are they leaning more towards, okay, I'm just going to stick with this brand, even though the price is high, even if a competitor came out that was a lower price, because I feel attached to that brand and it kind of has that that image that a woman wants to uphold? Or would they switch to a brand that was of a lower price, if that makes sense. Like I was curious as to what that purchasing behavior was.
If you can seduce them on the shelf with great packaging, and I'm going to step aside for a second, a lot of, and I'm going to say women because they really control the consumer marketplace, but I'm going to show you a product that they don't openly admit that they use that's made for men. Okay.
Okay.
And you might too. I don't know your situation there, but you've seen products like Native out there. It's number 3 or 4 right now on the AC Nielsen's in terms of sales as a brand. They're using clean elemental type products, right?
Right.
They want a clean elemental. So they want to be a little bit virtuous, but I want great hair. There's a balance. You better give me, look, I'll be virtuous as long as you give me good hair. I don't like aerosols, but I tried the natural spray, and you know what? I went to the big gala, and my hair looked terrible. And you know what? I'm not that virtuous. Let's not get that virtuous, right?
Right.
A lot of guys don't understand this. A lot of males don't understand this. You know, my better half, she's spoiled, and she is my guinea pig. She tries everything and so on and so forth, and she's all loaded up with my products there. And I haven't sent her an invoice or nothing like that in over 20 years, right? So we're okay. But yeah, so you want something virtuous. The big boogeyman now, of course, Paraben, it hasn't been used for a long, long time. SLS, sodium lauryl sulfate, right? Oh, it's got to be sulfate free. Well, I know some of the best formulators, and look, if that's what people want, we'll give them sulfate free. And I'm not being disrespectful here. SLS is primarily made with coconut, a lot of it. So it's about 80-90% natural. Then they add synthetics and they really lather it up. And SLS lathers. Lathering has nothing to do with cleaning your hair. Nothing. But if it doesn't lather, sorry, you just got dropped. You don't want that straw feeling after. So yeah, you got me talking about health and beauty care brands. And you know, I have a thing where I've written a little bit about it and I didn't really present it to you, but it's called the soul of the brand. Brands have soul. Maserati has soul. Apple has soul. IG has soul. You know, IG is basically, look, I have to advertise the minutiae details of my whole life, right? It's got my voice is being heard, right? That's what I'm on, you know, pictures and so on and so forth. Right. But so all these brands, you know, when Facebook first came out, and I spoke about in my book, Mark Zuckerberg, he's the father of social media as we know it. Like it or not, whatever, he is the father of social media as we know it. So these other ones, YouTube has its own branding, if you will.
Right.
So I jump around. I like different, you know, I read a fair bit right now. Well, I've always read a lot. I like to read. And I read some pretty tough books. Some of them are pretty dry, but we won't go there. So all these brands, you know, I've got a Tesla.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm more virtuous than you. And that was the original message. Oh, plus it's a little bit fast and it goes really, really cool. You know, I got a 7 Series BMW, let's say. I've got to park it outside. My neighbors have to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
That is, unless we get a break and enter, then well, maybe I should have parked it inside and listened to. I don't have a BMW. I don't. But when I'm buying BMW, when I'm buying Mercedes, look, you know, I'm just escalating myself, right? And I've lived in developing countries, and you know, certain places, and you know, just my own preference. I wouldn't drive cars like that around. I can afford to. I rather not. I don't want to be shown. Like I don't want to showcase myself like that. But you know, that's a separate matter. But yeah, so you're buying brands, you're buying feelings, you're buying a lift, you're buying in shampoos and health and beauty care. I'm jumping around here. I'm buying that feeling, you know, the smell. Oh, they sit there and, you know, you dare not put a seal on a bottle of shampoo, especially if you're trialing it on the shelves and you just got a big order from one of the chain stores and they want it. She's got to smell it. Oh, it smells good. Well, okay, now I'll invite you into my life, but you only get one date. And if you let me down, I'm going to ghost you. And that's how the consumer thinks.
You go there looking for something that's going to solve your problem, but also make you feel a certain way. So I think there's kind of like a lot to think about when you're marketing that to females specifically. So you've built brands across decades of change. What are the timeless fundamentals that still matter no matter how much the world evolves or things change? Has anything really stayed the same?
One thing that, well, what did change is when I started in this industry, they used to bring the artwork on storyboards and you'd kind of approve it, right? And
Hmm.
then we went to Adobe Illustrator, PDF formats, and I know how to read layers of artwork. So that's changed. But what has not fundamentally changed is trust, what the brand does for me, both
Hmm.
empirically, how it resonates with my emotional and multisensory sense of purpose there. I don't know where I got that word from, but I was
Yeah, that
told.
was
You like that word? Yeah.
it was a
I
big
didn't.
word. So I was just
It's
gonna
a
oh,
good word, but I didn't do well in English class because I couldn't bother with stuff like apostrophes and spelling. And we
yeah,
had,
it's a lot going on.
word saved my life.
Yeah.
But so those things of trust are timeless. I'll give you an example. It was I believe it was 1952, the advent of American television in the early 50s, and Tide introduced the first synthetic laundry detergent. It's a reduction of risk that hasn't changed, right? What's my hair? I'm going out for a big occasion. I've got to have my iPhone too, and I've got to have my case for that. Okay, it's all got to match. But with going back to Tide, reduction of risk, my mother's mother taught, so on and so forth. You bring Tide in the home, you pick it up at Costco, Walmart, Walgreens, wherever you purchase it, and you've got a reduction of risk. That's
Okay.
why you're buying Tide. It's a darn good product. I should be pitching for them, but it's one of the brands you can knock off, and I don't know if you know that term, like a rip off, you can knock off certain brands. um, you cannot create a similar private label or your own brand in using the Tide brand dress. Okay,
Wow.
otherwise you'll get a stack of lawyers' letters, and
Right. Right.
yeah. But they now own the combination of the color and some of the blue they put in there. Same goes
Oh
with
wow.
Pepsi Cola. Same goes with Coca Cola. Those are, and you come close to that. Now I know some other brands in trademark law. They're concomitant with the brand, the color. The certain color is what they look like, and that's a little bit of an example. But it's that trust, it's that emotional charge. With health and beauty care, things have changed over the years. Um, a lot brands were not as virtuous when I was growing up as they are now, and
Yeah.
brands were not designed for as many guys as they are now.
More options now.
Yes,
Yeah. Way
but
more.
this is my warning. Like, it's okay if the guy takes care of himself and he looks presentable, you know? But if he's got his face in the mirror more than you do, you got a problem. You need to straighten out that show. I don't know, I said that. I'm brave. My wife's not here. I'm brave right now.
When you think about those brands that have been around for so long, you don't even need to remember the ad or remember the marketing that you've seen about it, because if you go and walk through the aisle, like, you already know the brand. Like, it's just it's been around for so long and it's been brought into households. It's like it's just such a household name that it's you already have that relationship with the brand. You're already so familiar with it that I feel like for that company, because it has become such a household name, people really rely on that trust and they say, oh, okay, like, I know I can just pick that up off the shelf because we've been using it for so long. It's always on the shopping list. And I want to pivot a little bit and talk about AI, because there's definitely a lot of hype going on around AI specifically.
Hi, AI, hold on. But hold on, let's not finish with Tide just a second. I like that pivot.
Okay.
I only learned that word about 15, 20 years ago. But back to the thing. It was really introduced on the soap, like the Ed Sullivan, the I Love Lucy
Hmm.
shows. Back then, 3 stations. If I'm Procter and Gamble, I get the whole show, Ed Sullivan, and and then it went from generation to generation to generation. So now you want to pivot to AI.
Yeah. Let's take a different,
No.
we're going to flip it to something totally different.
Okay, all right. I'm okay now. All right, I got over it. I got over it there. Okay.
A lot of hype around AI right now, and we see it a lot in marketing. There's a lot of opinions on whether we should be using it in marketing, whether we shouldn't, whether there's too much AI content out there and people are tired of it, or things like that. But where do you see any practical value for AI for entrepreneurs, or where do you see a lot of it being noise?
Well, wrote a whole chapter on using artificial intelligence for competitive advantage. The regular speech is AI is going to change the world. It's going to be a seismic shift. And, we've heard that before. Those are just like, that's word salad. When the internet came out in dial-up, I started using it about 95, 96 in there. The real super, IT heads really were on there but before them. By the way, I sold computers for IBM
Oh, wow, did you?
and their distributor and Lanier Harris a long time ago. And and I'm going to go to AI because it is related to this. Don't worry, you're just kind of transiting through my mind there. It's not a good place to be, but where else can I be? Anyways, I was selling word processors and computers. We were on DOS. There's no GUI, graphical user interface out there. Here's what I was getting. You know what? And I was going door to door to peddle computers, right? I'm in my early 20s. Young man, you're taking jobs away. You're ruining the economy. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I got reactions like this. I had to have, and I knocked on thousands of doors. I did it since I was a kid. So I learned how to have thicker skin. So in the dial-up situation, imagine a book or course being taught in 1996 on how to use the internet. Nobody would read it today. It'd be a relic sitting in the Smithsonian Institute or maybe the Library of Congress or something like that. And I'm not knocking it. It was dial-up. It was slow. I could not get my head around the fact that I'll give you a couple where I went to the Luddite stage. I can't really believe that anybody would buy shoes online, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But my buddy's got an optical chain. He goes, oh, geez, they just go buy sunglasses, reading glasses online. They don't like it. They just send it back, right? So going into AI, we can go into the stages of denial. They went through the denial of this, but I'm going to give you some examples. You got a business partner. Maybe your audience might consider this or yourself. And I'm going to give you two examples. You believe that there's some not inefficiencies, but irregularities, that's the word, right? In your financial statements, you can run that through AI, it can pick off some bad ones there. And then, the three-letter word, three-letter word, the IRS is coming, right? They come, they wear cavalry hats now, I don't know, they show up with their horses and all that. And so they'll maybe show up so they can get more tax money to squander. And anyways, did I say that? No, okay. So the IRS is coming, you got your set of business books, your personal books, run through the whole thing, because they're going to run through it. You can run through AI, Chat, Gemini, some of the other ones. And so you can find out if you got skeletons in your closet, so deal with them quickly, cover them up, close them, clean them up, make them really nice. That's one. I talked to you about accounting irregularities. Mm-hmm. I talked to you about, here's what I use it for. When I write marketing speak, right? I write it and I go, what do you think of this? It'll give you an opinion. Mm-hmm. And I try to use a little bit of wit. And I came up with the line, the future doesn't care what you think. And I think, it really doesn't care. Yeah. And I was going to put up on one of my marketing things there, but I didn't. But I would maybe hit some people too hard. But on AI, you can use it for accounting. You can use it for a bouncing board on your marketing ideas. These are just advantages I'm giving you. I can also, I'm going to hire someone. They go, oh yeah, I'm phenomenal on Microsoft platforms and I'm really good on ERP systems like SAP. You can actually ask AI to create a test for you for your human resources department.
Wow. Yeah.
And say, great. run them on Excel, right? And or you're going to hire somebody and, writing with a pen is blasphemous now. Okay, we can't have that. It's heretic. And so you could basically have somebody say, why should you work for this company? Here's a pen and tell me. Write down. So then you write. You see how they write. Then you can run that through AI and say, what kind of a person am I dealing with here?
Wow. Yeah, didn't even think about that.
In the old days, they had Simon. I can go on and on about AI. One that I wrote that is setting up an Amazon store. I had to set it up, not because I want to become a gazillionaire on Amazon. It's just free advertising. You might or might not know this. Google's largest advertising customer in this world is none other than Amazon. Yeah. Wow. A couple of others here and there that I've got here. Sorry. So the other thing is you're in a heated email exchange. It could be in business, right? That's why God invented the draft box. Leave it in there.
Yeah, the draft.
You want to go, okay, stay cool. Because if I get into one of those, I can stay pretty cool. I have to. You can say, just send them a conciliatory blue, nice letter diffuse the situation, bring it down, right? AI can help you do that. Then you can massage it out yourself. We're only at level 2 AI right now. We're not really at level 3. There's level 4 and 5. I'm not going to go deep into there. These are some of the advantages you can do. I'll give you another example.
Okay.
You decide that you want to get into hair extensions, or you decide that you want to sit there and you want to bring out a line of clothing, or whatever you want to do. You want to go find out who the competition is. First of all, you can ask AI, who are my competitors in getting bands for my hair, if you will. Okay, I'm using that one there. It's really cool. I like those. And it can give you a complete list.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you a real authentic story. In the old days, when I went to Kresge's, Walmart, all these other ones there, Sears, and I had to do a price check on a certain section of health and beauty care, I'd go with my colleague David and we'd write down prices, we'd write them down. But I used to sell dictation equipment back in the late 1980s, so I would dictate them. Then we'd get kicked out of the store. Security would come out the door, you go like hooligans out the door. And then we'd take the dictation, give them to our administrative assistants, and they would create a spreadsheet out of it. This was like a 5-6 hour operation, right?
Wow.
Then the marketing department go, okay, this is the price of Tide, this is the price of Head and Shoulders, this is the price of Monday, this is the price of so on and so forth. What you can do now, and you wanted a real hands-on, right? I did this at a buyer, I gave them value added at one of the retailers. I can go take a panoramic picture of the section, and I can ask Gemini or Chat. I use Chat. I use Gemini a little bit. Can you please give me a list of every item on here? How many facings for each item? How much does each item cost at retail? Facings means per SKU, stock keeping unit, how many facings. And the more facings you see, that tells you which one's selling the best. I mean, Walmart's not stupid. Walgreens not stupid. Target's not, they know, right? So, and then can you please assemble this on an Excel sheet? It's done in 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Then you clean it up a bit because AI is not perfect. The ones that are going to talk against AI are going to be Luddites in the sense, and they're going to say, see, it makes some mistakes. Yeah, but it's only going to get better.
Yeah, that's a really interesting approach too. Depending on where products are placed on the shelf too, if they're like more eye level, then those tend to be the better sellers. Or it's better to get, or if you're in an end cap, which at one point I did CPG marketing. I know like the end cap was so valuable in retail, especially for food. Never would have even thought of taking a picture of an aisle and uploading it into AI to have it formulate all of that for you. That's so helpful. So many people are using AI to create content for them that it's kind of losing that human touch a little bit. So I feel like if you can find the balance there where you use it for useful things that can save you so much time, but then coming up with the actual ways to connect with your audience, you still need that human touch to make things, to get that sense of trust and to have that relationship with the brand.
The humor in it is kind of a bit nerdy. Like I'll write something relatively humorous and I'll go to ChatGPT and I'll say that you're a complete geek. I've had some great arguments with, you're a nerd. I go, you're really a nerd and you really, plus, then I called one time a box head too. I called him a box head as well, But no, in all essence, it could deprive it. Like when I came up, or I did a carousel, I kind of wrote it up from another one. I've got another guy overseas, and I've got a young kid who uploads them for me. He's still in the last year high school. He's a bright guy, but his speaking was kind of nerdy. It might have been pulled off AI. I'm not sure. But I just basically said, I brought my book at the end of the carousel. It's game on. Are you ready? That's all. That's all you have to say. Volkswagen did drivers wanted. That's all you have to say. Right?
Yeah.
You're familiar with Monday shampoo? You're familiar
with
I am. Yeah. And it's I don't know why they ever invented the day Monday, like the day of the week, because that's horrible. You've got to go back to work.
It's not,
and
I know.
And you want to wear gloves so when you assassinate your boss, you don't want any fingerprints left, right? And, because I'm sure the food's not good in jail. And so you either go, oh my God, but I take this Monday shampoo and I'm getting over Monday,
Right. Suddenly Monday's not so bad because you have this Monday shampoo. And their
packaging. Did I answer your question? I think I did.
You did, yeah. And their packaging is also very pink, but it's minimal, so it's also like looks nice on your vanity or your shelf.
It does.
It's very the aesthetic is there. So even though it is saying Monday, which is such a not fun day, it makes it a little bit spin on things.
I didn't know you've got CPG experience at that a bit. That's phenomenal because it's the core of all marketing. You can take
You can learn a
whatever you
lot.
like. And
Yeah.
when we finish the show off the show, I will show you my latest contraption and invention to help take over the
Okay.
world. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll take over the world.
Yeah, stuff like that. Anyways, but yeah, so that's where I kind of see AI, and you can say, I just gave you some examples. There's many more, and you can create great efficiencies in ERP systems and manufacturing systems, moving people up the learning curve. You
Right.
just really learn stuff. So I'll give you an example. There's some great 1.5 hour podcasts out there, or a 2 hour documentary on the history of Rome, or so on and so forth. I go, can you please analyze this point for me? I'll read it for 3 minutes and I'm briefed in. I like history.
Yeah, it's nice to summarize articles, summarize findings, give me the overall idea of it, and even sometimes too with emails. If someone sends a really long email, like it's nice that it summarizes the email at the top. There's definitely some pluses there for sure.
But wait, I've got one more for you. It just came to mind.
Okay.
I wrote a whole chapter on negotiations because
Well, good for
my
me.
professor, when I went to school in 1771 or whenever it was, but when I went to school, my professor Gavin Kennedy wrote the book, Everything's Negotiable, Get the Best Deal Every Time. It's a best-selling book. He was a renowned, he taught all corporations, and he was a Scotsman. I went to school in UK, right?
Okay.
And I was doing my MBA there, and I extracted some stuff from there. When I wrote the chapter on negotiations, there's an add-on you can get on Chat GPT, right? A GPT it's called. It's called The Negotiator.
Oh wow!
And it helps you negotiate. Yeah, I've outsmarted it a few times, but it helped me a lot of times too, right? Mm-hmm. There's different styles of negotiations, right? You've come across a red guy. He's just smashing the desk, pounding up and down. They got to drag him out of the room, that kind. Or you can get a blue guy, right? And a blue is the current president of Microsoft, right? He wants to be conducive towards, if you want to cool down in negotiations, then you walk in and go, listen, ladies, gentlemen, listen, let's work something out here that everybody can live with, okay?
Right, okay, yeah.
Boom, that just settles the whole, you got to read the room. You got to read the football field, the room. I'm Canadian, so I'm going to say hockey, but you don't play hockey. But
yeah.
You play, got great teams before. So
yeah,
anyways, you can say this person's going crazy on me. And you can run it through the negotiator, and it really helps you.
If you're writing an email too, and you want to polish the email or make it more friendly, you kind of ask it to remove any sort of fluff or any things that you don't need it in it. So how can smaller and newer brands realistically compete against those bigger and better funded competitors today? Someone has this new idea they're really excited about, but they're like, whoa, I'm going up against, maybe they want to launch a shampoo brand, but they're like, wait, I don't want to compete against L'Oreal or a big brand that, has a lot of funding.
That's a really good question. The first thing I'll say is you need to understand there's a certain system, and a lot of it is very intrinsic, if you will. A lot of people go, oh, I'm going to show you my new styling aid, or I'm going to show you my new phone case on IG, and look, man, and everyone goes, cool, yeah, I like. So you might have in my case, I got 10 million followers. Never mind Lady Gaga, I have more followers than her. I'm kidding, I don't. I think I'm 300 on IG, I don't know. But so what you want to do is, there's an idea, and I'm going to go into your question, okay? There's an idea of, you need to understand the concept of having customers depart with money based on the genesis of your ideas. That's where the pavement meets the road meets the pavement, if you will, or your tires meet the pavement, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
You have to be able to say, okay, I got the idea, and people are departing with money for my idea. Mm-hmm. Then you start getting traction. That's one of the Guerrilla guide strategies. The other thing you want to do is you want to create a brand that has empathy. You want, on a corporate level, on an IG level, on the Facebook level, on a TikTok level, because these forms of advertising, people might not appreciate it, millennials and Gen Zers. If you're a small player and you want to get your products on the shelf in the old days, on television, you're spending like $50,000 for a minute, right? And for the Super Bowl, you can forget it, right?
Yeah, forget it, no.
Yeah. So you want to create empathy, but then this is the other key thing. Am I really solving a problem? It's not, oh, well, I have an advantage because my shampoo will give you lots of body on your hair. Or I have an advantage because I've got not only 5G, I've got G right now on my latest phone. Well, that can be, it's the imitation gap can be closed in today's market, right? There's a big, deep history since Thomas Edison, the pioneer versus the analyzer, the reactor versus the defender. And without going there, are you able to give the consumer more for less?
Okay, so more value for less
More, yeah. And I don't use the word value, more performance, right?
performance. Okay.
And I like the word value. As you and I went to school, we learned what's the value equation, right? So
Right.
my value equation, as wrote a mathematical formula out, I think I understand it some days, right? But it's the integration of price and emotion. Right?
Okay.
Are you able to, can you undercut Redken by 50%? Can you undercut Apple by 50% and yet make it so cool? Dude, you spent $1,400 on an Apple. You've got no money left to take anyone out on a date. Buy my phone, it's $700. Now you've got money to take her out. What are you going to do? Go out on a bicycle and take her out on a date? I'm being sincere with you. But you know what I'm getting at. I'm being facetious here, and I'm kind of getting zany. But do you really need to be spending $25 on your hair when I can give you exactly that and some more at half the price?
Do you think there has to be something very different in addition to the price? Or do you think that they would be okay with selling a shampoo that gives your hair volume and they just cut the price and package it that way? Like, is the value the fact that it's less expensive, or is the value like actually in the product itself?
I think the proposition is, where can I offer you a savings without undressing your sense of self?
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
Right? Where can I increase your sense of self? Can I do it through packaging? Can I do it through sense? Can I do it through performance? Can I do it through empathy? Can I do it through storyboards and say, we're just a small company and we just started this, but once upon a time, this was a place of dreams, and then you can start the story. And I'm just coming up with stuff. And you know what? This country was built on dreams, and that's what our company is built on. It was this dream that we had one day that we could do this, and you build a story, and people start, getting the crying towels out, and they get. I'm being facetious, but
They're crying down. Yeah.
you've got to
You told
connect.
the story. Yeah, I also think too that's something, especially with there being so many ads, like specifically online or digital marketing. I think there has to be that emotion piece. Like, there has to be a reason that someone would feel connected to your brand, and it could be the content you're sharing. There's something about it, or the story you tell through your content, that it's more about that storytelling piece than even the product itself. But once they feel attached to that story, then they're probably more likely to buy it.
Just write a storyboard and say, you know what? Once upon a time, honesty meant something. Now I can run with that,
Right.
And I honestly think you can have great hair. And I honestly think you could have a really good box of cereal with no sugar, so on and so forth. I honestly think you would have a great phone. And you're going to see a little bit of that. And I'm probably getting ahead of myself, is when you start seeing the Chinese EV companies coming in here. They're phenomenal cars. People are going to go, they're already coming into Canada a little bit.
Okay.
So BYD Motors in China, I go to China a fair bit. And when you start seeing their cars and how they compete and how they build and the quality of them, you go, they're going back into my honesty. So come up with a storybook that resonates. I had don't want to go off topic. I had a really brilliant ad agency guy come in, and I got the Barbasol brand. Can you put together an ad for it? And you know what he did? He started showing me a storyboard. It was up on on the PowerPoint or whatever, the film he showed in our corporate offices. He goes, fathers, and it showed pictures with boys with their dads from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the tradition. And all the time you had Barbasol in the background. I'm giving away some great ideas here.
Yeah.
By the time we finish this podcast, you're going to be taking over the world. And at least when you do, give me a coupon for Dairy Queen, so I'll have some in the summertime. I used to like going there.
That's a great idea, though. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're
it's a
right, it
good
does. It
one.
ties that like nostalgia piece, which I feel like is a lot now. A lot of marketing is like leaning into the nostalgia, leaning into that
People
emotion.
like that. We're still emotion. We're still emotional. If you don't believe me, go on X and watch people go at it left and right. Do they argue on Instagram as much? I don't know.
People are looking for content or looking for conversations to join that are emotional because if it is generated by AI, they could tell that it's not made by a person. That's the one piece of marketing that has that human element to it, is like emotion driven
Yes.
marketing. Marketing's been like that always, but now if that's a differentiator, if we're actually still having a human behind the brand, it makes things a little bit different. I don't know, at least from my perspective.
No, absolutely. Human touch is still there. At this point in AI, because you're jumping on that a bit, which is cool, it's great for efficiencies. That story will change,
Hmm.
but for efficiencies, it's great. And that human touch is the human touch, for sure. Yeah.
Pivoting to another question, looking at your career, is there any lessons that you've learned that you'd want to share with us that maybe you learned
Yeah.
the lesson the hard way that every entrepreneur could learn maybe a little bit earlier on?
When you're opening up a business and you're starting to get some revenue, making a bit of money, if you've got an office you're working out of, if you're working out of a warehouse, the biggest mistake I first made, one probably, and I see a lot of them make it, and I made it, is be like McDonald's Corporation. Purchase the premise where you run your business out of. Pay the bank instead of the landlord. And you'll have some tough times. But what do they say? Great sailors are made in rough seas, right?
Yep. Yeah.
It's you get used to it. I mean, I've done this for a while. I saw my dad go through stuff. I mean, I helped my dad since I was 12, 13 years old pedal, right? I mean, whereas my mother had a more of a corporate job, right? My dad was a bit different. But so one of the things I recommend is if you can purchase the area, the building, or even an office condom, whatever, some kind of the premise that within reason, right? If it's a gazillion dollars and you're just starting out, I get it. You can't do that. So that's very important. Don't fall in love with your products. And your services. Let your customers fall in love with them. Okay.
Okay. Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, let them fall in love with them. Because if I started listening to everybody in the room and, I get caught, I like that product, and then the market doesn't like it. Give the people of Rome what they want. They want gladiator fights, give them gladiator fights, okay?
Okay.
The other thing is, this is an oldie but a goldie. Listen to your customer. When you're going on a sales call, the master salespeople I've heard are not the desk pounders. The real dangerous ones are just dead quiet. Let your customers talk. They give you voluminous information. Understand your customer's position. Understand that purchaser's position. Why is she or he, who is she answering to?
Okay.
Who's he answering to? They're answering to somebody. What is their symbiotic relationship within the organization? Is it finance? Is it marketing? Who's pulling on them? Read the room. So when I go see customers, I make a few quips here and there. I do if they object, you can't just come. I don't want to get into a sales speech here, but you can't just, oh no, don't worry, this product's great. That's not reasoning. That's reasoning for a kindergarten child. The kid in junior kindergarten will throw you out if you talk like that. Come up with reasons. Also, when you're seeing a customer and they're going to talk about the competition, may it be in services or prices, do all that work and present it for them. Do your customer's job for them before you walk in the door. It doesn't matter if we're talking about health and beauty aids. Do their competitive analysis, right? So if I was working in engineering or again, and I wanted to set up a robotics factory, and they go, okay, we're going to bring you to the meeting. How much is it going to cost to implement? Well, here's what it's going to do. Right now, I can save you $150,000 a month, and here's how I can do it. My robotic systems will cost you $1.6 million to put in. They don't show up with colds. They don't go on strike. They don't have bad days. So I talk about efficiencies, right? And my robots don't go down. You know what I'm getting at? So
Right.
So what they call in engineering and technical sales, you got to deliver the beef, right? I learned that through my dad because I sold industrial equipment as well. Yeah, it was not easy because sometimes you were dealing with some pretty high spec engineer technical types. You don't know who you're dealing with. The other thing that I'll give you some advice, not that you really ask for it, is if your organization grows and you start be doing well and you become wealthy, however you define wealthy, you're making money, you're making revenue, stay grounded, treat even your minimum wage employees like you do treat your people in the C room. It's a very Japanese way of doing work. Don't get full of yourself. Stay cool, stay grounded. For myself, I don't like parking, when I had my warehouse and all that, I don't like parking hot rods outside the front office. It's not good. You got somebody there at 19 or 18 or $16 an hour, and you're sitting there and you're parking $160,000 of metal in the parking lot. Really think about that and think about what they might go through. But if you just, like, the wealthiest guy I ever knew in my life, he drove an old jalopy. Like, you couldn't tell. You didn't know. I mean, I like nice cars. I like nice toys.
Yeah.
I'm saying, go keep it, rent it, or drive it when no one's seeing you, right? Enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's not for everybody. It's very hard to do in the West, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. One of the things that you said that really stuck out to me was before you go into the room, the most important things would be, one, to read the room, understand your consumer ahead of time, get as much research done that you can, understand your competitor, but then the most important thing would be listen to them. They'll tell you where the conversation should go. You just could tailor the experience that or the information that you've gathered ahead of time to that conversation, instead of maybe stepping in and thinking that you need to run the conversation. It's better to just ask them the questions and have them run the conversation and maybe add in some more that you've come prepared with, if that's
right
on the right track. Yeah.
That's a fair assessment. Talk to, if you're quiet and eventually, basically, without coming out in the crass way, talk to me about your problems.
Mm-hmm.
And can what I offer resolve your problems, right?
And then also, would you say you would bring up, like, pricing or efficiency from a competitor, or would you keep the competitor conversation to a minimum? How would you go about that too?
Well, if you've done a price audit, then you understand, you've done their job. You go, first of all, when you've come in and you've shown a spreadsheet or just a PowerPoint, and here's the prices on XXX, right? Mm-hmm. Without going into the weeds, like, you don't have to go into the weeds unless they demand it. If you're dealing with them, when I went to sales school, right, I got trained did the IBM course, the linear course, the Xerox. This was old school. When you're dealing with an accountant type, mm-hmm. give them lots of paper and numbers. Give them lots of numbers, right?
Yeah.
You're dealing with when you're dealing with the middle manager, you're still relatively analytical. When you're dealing with the founder president, sell them ideas.
Ideas. Oh, good point.
Ideas. If you're dealing with the finance department, numbers, right? Okay. So understand who's got to answer to other people. I mean, just listening to them and being humble and just lightening up the room. It really works. I enjoy being in front of customers, may it be physical or online or whatever, works these days. And so we have a lot of fun, and you get turned down.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went to sales school, and the first question was, are salespeople made, or are they born that way, or are they made? And, I'm only a 23-year-old kid, oh no, you're born a salesperson, or you're not true at all. They're made. Like I told you, some of the ones that hold the silent rifles that you can't hear, man, they're just quiet. And I worked around guys like this. I mean, one of my buddies was a repo man. Very quiet, unassuming guy, but he could read the room.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's really great advice. As we wrap up this episode, if someone wanted to work with you or read your books or learn more about you, where can they find all that information?
I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn.
Yep.
My book, The Guerrilla Guide, I'm giving a pitch here, The Guerrilla Guide for Entrepreneurs and the Rest of Us. It is on Amazon.
Okay, great.
My 2022 book, The Practical MBA on Economics. That was pretty, another 500-page book. It was a lot of work. But that one there, so you can, pick me up that way. I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
I've done a couple of videos here and there I produced on YouTube. But if you punch in my name, I'm around there. I'm not very hard to get in touch with. And that's about it there. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
We'll
I'll be
take
sure to
that
add
from
all of your
there.
links in the show notes too. So if anybody wants to go to your website or to pick up a copy of your book, they can do that in the show notes of the episode. Thank you so much for your time today, Joe. I really appreciate it. This was a great
My
conversation.
pleasure. You take care, and you have yourself a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for having me on your show.
Anyone else feel like this has been a masterclass in practical thinking, cutting through the noise and focusing on what actually works? I really enjoy how Joe brought both strategy and real world experience into everything that he shared today. For everyone listening, if you're building a brand, navigating change, or just trying to think a little more clearly in this noisy world, this episode is definitely one to revisit. If you've got value from this conversation, be sure to subscribe, share it with someone who's creating something, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep creating, and keep building your story.